Welcome to Keeping It Real, the largest podcast made by real estate agents and for real estate agents. My name is DJ Paris. I'm your guide and host through the show. And today I'm super excited to bring on our guest, Chris Wands. He is an amazing agent, and I want to tell you about his team and how he grew his team, and specifically how he gets clients, because you're going to learn so much from Chris. So Chris Wands is the founder of the Wands team at Douglas Elliman, one of Miami's leading luxury real estate brokers, over $1 billion in sales. He is the real deal. He works with high net worth buyers, sellers, developers, execs, founders, family offices across South Florida's most competitive luxury market. And since joining Douglas Elliman, he quickly emerged as one of the firm's standout performers, earning Rookie of the Year after selling 35 properties in his first year. And for all of us listening, you've had a first year too. I bet you didn't sell 35 properties. That's not to shame you. That's just to show what a superstar Chris is, which is insane. And later building the Wands team into one of Elliman's top producing teams nationwide. His work spans major new development and luxury products, including, this is amazing, a record-setting $55 million sale. So known for his candid market perspective and deep understanding of buyer psychology, Chris brings a sharp on-the-ground view of Miami's wealth migration, branded residences, waterfront scarcity, and emerging luxury neighborhoods. I want everybody to follow Chris on his Instagram, Chris_Wands, W-A-N-D-S. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you, DJ, for having me. I appreciate it.
I am excited to talk to you because I always love talking to luxury agents, because so many agents, that's a dream of theirs. And I don't know that it should be a dream for everyone. It's obviously a very difficult market to break into, or niche to break into. And it's also got its pros and cons. Obviously, you are doing gangbusters with it. But I want to really start back towards the beginning of your career to set the stage for how you grew the business. And when you started at Elliman, you have said that people would hand you their scraps. I want to find out, how did you get their scraps? What was it that you showed them or did to earn that? Because I know, look, a good agent isn't just handing out deals to anybody who is like, hey, I need help. They're only going after people they think can actually close these deals. And as a new person, you must have really impressed them. So I would just love to find out, because there's so many people listening on our show who are new agents or newer, and they really want to get some assistance from other, more successful agents.
Of course. So I want to correct you on one thing. So it was 35 transactions, not 35 sales. A lot of them were rentals. As much as it would have been amazing to be 35 sales, I want to be real and also be real to help other people. And, look, I think anything's possible in life, and definitely someone can do it. But first year, 35 sales, I think would be a little bit difficult. It was about 5 sales and, 30 plus rentals. And it's funny, I remember I was on a podcast recently talking about this, and I think I made like $40,000 that year. And so in regards to getting the scraps, I mean, one of the biggest things, and something that I always talk to my team about, is showing up. I think one of the big things with real estate, when people are just starting, or, a lot of times people think, hey, I can have a license and do it as a second job or a third job, whatever you may be doing, is, for me, I always took it from the minute I did it as a career. And this is what I wanted to do. So even when I literally had nothing to do, I went to the office and I'd, look at the MLS. I'd learn, different buildings, look at floor plans. Like, I just would try to make myself busy. I'd go to networking events, and, I made my successes known. And this is really social media. We had Facebook, but it wasn't, what people have today, where they could throw up an Instagram video and, make themselves look like an industry professional. You actually kind of had to do stuff. So for me, it was, I talked to everyone. I talked to the wall if I could, and just made it known I was willing to help. I never said, hey, I need 50% or I need 20% or I need this. I kind of just said, hey, if you ever need help with a showing or whatever it was, I just did it. So for me, eventually that compounded, because someone was like, oh, you did a good job, and plus I was probably cheap labor for them. It made sense. And eventually, as I always tell people, don't look at the what you're going to make on a transaction, because if you do good enough on your job, money will become a byproduct of it.
Yeah, thank you for correcting me first on the 35 sales versus 30 rentals, 5 sales, because that's really important for so many agents because they don't relate to the 35 sale a year rookie
100%.
anyway. So thank you. And also I guess it's possible. I don't know if I've ever met somebody that's done that. So thank you for that correction. And what a great way to enter the industry doing rentals. Quicker money. Yeah, the money's not as good, but these are people that may become future buyers, or just, hey, great way to learn part of the industry and start talking about real estate to anyone. We're here in Chicago where rentals are huge as well, obviously, especially luxury rentals. And, whether it's non-luxury or luxury, I tell every new agent, if your sphere of influence isn't buying, they're renting, right? So might as well help them before they get their own agent, and they probably don't have an agent if they're renting. I want to back up one step because I should have mentioned this earlier. You are not a native to Miami. You're a New York guy. You're a Long Island guy. And Long Island, very residential, rural, but still has that kind of city energy, or some parts of Long Island do. How did you get down to Southern Florida?
So I transferred to the University of Miami, and I fell in love with the sunshine, the palm trees, and the lifestyle, and I never left.
Easy enough. But when you started, did you have a strong network? I mean, were there people from college that you were able to work with, or did you have to kind of start fresh?
It's kind of a loaded question. So I worked for a little period of time in not the real estate industry. It wasn't a career, it was a job in water sports sales. So for me, I had met some people. I also had roommates in college that were from Florida. So I had met their friends from growing up. And from that, I had roommates post-college that were from Florida. So I was able to target, friends of friends and stuff like that. But honestly, Miami was a very different space 10 years ago. Even the rental market and the pricing and all that stuff. So it really was not easy for me to really break into it. And it took a lot of time and a lot of effort.
Well, and you're still a pretty young guy, I'm assuming at this point.
Yeah, I'll be 36 in October.
Yeah. So you were in your 20s when you started in?
Yeah, 10 years ago. So I was 25, 26 years old.
Okay. Not the easiest thing to get sales, even at that age, even if you had started at 18, because of course, who's giving, their $1 million sale to, it's possible, but it's certainly your friends aren't probably buying $1 million places at 25 and 26.
No, they weren't. The transactions I did, that was a nicer transaction, which I did with an agent and was more a junior on the deal for 1.5, 1.6, which at the time was a bigger transaction. But I think the first sale I ever did was $332,000, which actually is a good friend still, and he's a Hollywood exec. And it was someone that they just wasn't meshing with the buyer, and they actually decided they were going to rent, and I converted them back to a sale. And I still talk to the guy. He's an awesome guy. He's got an incredible story too. And his daughter actually went to University of Miami after me, and we ended up meshing. And then the second deal I did was a fraternity brother's parents, because they saw I was posting content and stuff like that on Instagram, and so I was aligned myself with a top agent. Was in Boca, which is not necessarily my main market. We do a lot of business across the Tri-County market in Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach, but was a second, third, fourth home style for I think it was $530,000.
Yeah. So it wasn't an immediate jump into luxury, and you paid your dues just like anyone else. But what I heard about the getting scraps was because everyone thinks when we talk to agents that they just got handed stuff. And I've been interviewing agents for 8 years of 800 episodes here. I've yet to meet the person that got handed anything of substance without really earning it first, willing to work for free, willing to do open houses, as you said, not worrying about the split on the referral, just being excited to like get the opportunity to learn. I also heard every day I was studying the market, which I mean, one of the top agents here in Chicago, he, for 5 years, I think he only sold 7 properties total. And all he would do is put on a suit every day, go, and he was like, wanted to learn all the condo buildings in this particular neighborhood where he now dominates. And that's what he would do. He would go in and say, I need to learn everything about this building. He goes, I just knew it was going to take 5 years. He goes, I was a loser for 5 years. I made no money. I lived in my parents' basement, but I was just learning the market because I wanted to be no more than anyone. You were doing a version of that, along with a lot of heavy lifting of being of service to other agents. So it's always the way, right? It's being willing to work for free or for little money and just going, I just got to get more reps in. And
you have to be able to offset your deficiencies. So for me, I was 25, 26 years old. I had to figure out a way to offset that, exactly like you said. How can I get someone to trust me with, what sometimes could be their biggest asset? And for me, it was knowledge and hustle. And I knew I would outwork everyone else during that time frame. And, at least in Florida, the biggest thing at the time, what's a lot better now as the market's gotten better, is I answered my phone. Probably too much. But again, you got to look at it and be receptive to people calling you and answer your phone.
I can't tell you how many top producers have been on the show. And when I say, what do you think makes you unique? I don't even ask the question anymore because I've got almost the same answer every time, which is, oh, I'm not smarter than, maybe I'm gifted in some ways at this job. I'm also not gifted in other ways. I just work harder. I outwork everyone. I answer my phone. Those are the two. I call my clients before they call me, kind of thing. Those are the 3 main things. And it's so funny to hear it because as I recruit agents, and I can't tell you, you probably wouldn't know this. Oh, maybe you would. So there's so many of these agents who they're not full-time agents. Maybe they're part-timers, or they're just newer to the business. Maybe they're full-time and just kind of struggling. And I cannot tell you, as a recruiter, what I'll do is I'll just cold call people. And especially if they get like a new listing, I'll be like, oh, I saw you got a new listing, man. You're awesome. I cannot tell you how many people who are not big producers I call and I get an AI answer like system. And I'm like, really? Like, you've done 4 deals this year. Like, you can't answer your phone. Okay, maybe you have another job. Fine, I get it. This is your part-time gig. You still shouldn't use the AI system. Guys like Chris probably could, and he doesn't use the AI system. He answers the phone. So every top producer I know answers their phone. I mean, it sounds so simple, but it's shocking how many people are even using the AI thing now.
Real estate isn't heart surgery. I say it all the time. It's really simple if you can figure it out.
Yeah. Answer your phone, people. So let's talk about rentals, because you are a big fan of them. Obviously, they lead to other things, but they're not always what a new agent gets in the business to do, right? They may end up doing it, but most are like, I want the big listings. So walk us through sort of why rentals are significant for your team, why they were significant for you, and how they help, kind of launch your overall business.
So I think the way, and a good friend of mine who's a top producer used to always say, at least on the new development side of sales, that real estate's a contact sport. And I always kind of took that to heart. So the way I looked at it with rentals is it's a contact sport. Every single time you meet someone, it's not whether or not you close that transaction, it's the future transaction. So every time you're meeting with someone who's a renter, buyer, or seller, your name is popping up on that transaction. The owner is going to see who you are. The tenant is going to see who you are. And the broker is going to see who you are. And you never know where that door opens. And, at the time, there was a lot less brokerages in Florida. I got deals from my brokerage, not like from my brokerage, but from people in my office, because I was on the opposite side and they liked how I worked. So they turned around and said, hey, Chris, you did a great job with that rental. I don't want to do this. Will you split it with me 50-50? And then I got a listing. Okay, right. Then that listing allowed me to market. So it really, for me, and I have a bunch of people who are greener on my team. I have a girl on my team. Her name's Danny. If I could clone her, I would be the biggest real estate agent in probably the world if I can clone just 60 of her. Um, but she's done I think 30 rentals this year,
Amazing.
and she's in her she's 2.5 years in. I mean, our team alone this year has done 71 rentals.
Wow.
Um, which and when you're paying, call it 5% aside or half a month aside, like at 5,000, those aren't little amounts of money, and
Right.
they're quicker. An average rental can be 2 weeks, 3 weeks. An average sale is going to be, for financing, at least in Florida, it's 45 days.
Right.
And so I also think it's a big thing for cash flow, because you're able to be able to kind of predict a little bit more. And then once you get into the landlord side and you have those landlords, I have clients that pay renewable commissions, and as long as we're good and diligent about putting a good tenant in there, knowing that that tenant's going to be there for the long run, we get paid for years to come.
Yeah.
So for me, and you use the term luxury, not luxury is not luxury everywhere. You could be in a market in middle America and $500,000 could be luxury. You can
Sure.
be in Chicago and, okay, maybe the upper tier of your market's $4 to $5 million, but now
Yep.
that's middle luxury in Miami. So like I always find when I talk to people, it's you know find what makes you happy and find what you can make yourself and sell. Like, what is luxury? Like, luxury is being happy at home, being with your friends or your family and enjoying quality of life. Like, I've never looked at luxury of whether or not it be a $500,000 transaction, a $1,500 rental, or a $55 million transaction. I personally treat everyone the same, which is probably
Right.
why I continue to excel in multiple different spaces.
Well, and there's very little margin for error with the $55 million sale, because that person has a team. That person is probably a savvy financially to get to that level. Maybe they're even quirky. Maybe they have people on their team that are quirky. You have to serve a lot of masters, right? There's probably some sort of financial person. There's an accountant. Maybe there's an attorney. Maybe there's an agent if they're a celebrity. There's a lot of people, and navigating that sort of world is not easy. And if you can give that experience the $55 million client demands, because they're used to that quality of life wherever they go, if you can give that to the person with the starter home, whatever the price point is, they're going to be in love with you, because obviously, like you said, treating them all the same is the name of the game, and especially making the non-true luxury client feel like they're a luxury person is the name of the game. I want to ask you, because this is an incredible story. This is like, you never hear this, and you wrote this to us, and I thought it was worth mentioning. You got a lead off Realtor.com. Those are, I'm guessing you were paying for zip codes or however it works, and turned out to be a billionaire, which is shocking, because you would think billionaires
Like a
know
very
people.
big billionaire. Like, I think he's top 10, 15 in the world billionaire.
So like maybe a name that we would even know potentially, or somebody who, and you would think, oh, they have people that would find the best realtor in the area. Like, they're not going to Realtor.com or Zillow or wherever.
Well, so funny enough, the lead came through. There was a bunch of land on in Indian Creek at the time that was vacant. It was owned by Julio Iglesias, who was listed for like $100 million. And I got the lead, and it was like a random name. And I'm like, I tried to Google it, couldn't find anything. And so my younger brother was working with me at the time, and I was like, honestly, like, I don't have time to deal with this right now.
Right.
I sent it to my. This is not real. I was like, okay. I was like, let me send it to my brother who was working with me, and still works with me. And my brother, called first time, didn't get through, left a message, and he was like, it was a person, and he calls me probably a day later, and he's like, you won't believe it, I think it's real. I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? Like, I like literally, like, it kind of just like, I could probably still find the lead. And I was like, there's no way. And he's like, no, like, this is a tech executive. They own property in Hawaii, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think that it's real. I think I'm dealing with like a handler from their family office. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, let's roll with it. Let's roll the dice. So you end up setting up a call, and we have a great call. I actually ended up getting to speak to the principal, and I had like 2 or 3 calls with the principal, and I spent probably collectively like 3 hours speaking to this person.
Wow.
And we had a lot of overlap, ironically, through some of his extracurricular activities. And unfortunately, the deal didn't happen because he ultimately bought in, a crazy deal in Palm Beach, and he's been buying some stuff up there as well, more recently in the news. But it was pretty cool because people laugh at me, especially like I'll answer like every phone call, and my wife will like you hear that like boop, and it's spam, but I still am like, hey, hello, this is Chris. I still answer and let them get through it, and my wife is like, what are you doing? Like I can hear that it's fake and it's like a call center in Bangladesh, but I still like always, you never know where a lead's going to go. And like, again, like at the time, Jeff Bezos actually ended up buying, one of the properties that it ended up leading to that we were going to try to sell. But I mean, it would have been, if the deal had gone through, the first, $100 million plus trade in Miami. And it would have been, call it 3-4 years before that happened.
Sure. Well, I guess the point is that had you tried to reach this tech billionaire as a cold call, pretty difficult, maybe impossible to get to that person. And yet you treated each lead, in particular, a lead with $100 million sort of property or land. You're going to be like, oh, it's either.
You'd be surprised though.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. And I learned something that sometimes, especially in luxury, people overthink it. I'm obviously not going to say who the billionaire was but I can tell you that his email, it would be equivalent if it was like chris@elliman.com. And it was that simple. And if someone took the effort to, if they wanted to get in touch with him and they had something special, you probably could do it because he has enough people reading his emails that if you put enough, variations and simple variations, you probably could have gotten into his email.
Yeah. It's funny. One of my friends' husbands recently became the CEO of Guitar Center in the last couple of years, which is just wild because I didn't even know he played guitar, and he does play guitar. And I was chatting with her, and I said, I'm a guitar player. And I was just like, I can't believe Gabe's, the Guitar Center guy. And she was like, I know, it's so hilarious. And we just laugh about it. And she goes, oh, I'm going to get you a friends and family discount. Cause I was like thinking about upgrading this classical guitar of mine. Anyway, which was very generous of her. And I said, oh, you don't have to do that. She's like, oh no. I'm like, don't ask Gabe for that. Like he's busy. She's like, he's not that big. First of all, yes, he's busy, but he's not that busy. You're a friend of mine. And he just sent me an email. He's like, here's a coupon for you, and I'm like, that's hilarious. Like these people do things like that. They do answer the phone. They of course, he's my friend's husband. So you're absolutely right. Okay. So let's go back to rentals for a second. So sorry, 1 second. So let's go back to rentals for 1 second. So somebody is listening right now who are chasing a new rental. It's not a super high, $5,000 a month transaction. So maybe they feel like they're not getting ahead, right? So what would you tell them with, a $2,000 a month rental, which yes, maybe you're only getting $1,000 because you're getting half a month's commission on it when it all said and done. What would you tell them if they were a little disheartened by something like that?
Don't give up. Simple. And what is $1,000 versus not?
Yeah. It's still $1,000. Yeah.
Still $1,000. And guess what? That $1,000 rental could lead you to the $20,000 rental, which can lead you to the $20 million buyer.
100%. Couldn't agree with you more. And unless you're so busy, you literally can't go do the job. Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times people want to be on my team and they're like, they act like they're so busy, but then, and then they complain that they're not making money, but someone hands them $1,000 rental and they don't want to put the time in to do the $1,000 rental.
Right. Yeah.
So
I mean, it's funny. My friends who are uber successful, who run companies, who have employees, or like the CEO of Guitar Center, he sent me an email. Like, he's too busy to do that, and yet he found time to do that, right? My friends have time to do it. All of us have time. We don't always have a lot of it, and we have to prioritize it, or we have people on our team that will act as us. But you are absolutely right. It's yes. Let's talk about in a luxury brokerage. You know, your team ranks number 4 nationally for rental transactions, which I love. And most luxury agents I talk to treat rentals as something you do for a friend, you know, if you're like just wanting to help out somebody, but you built a national ranking out of them. So just walk us through the thought process there.
Again, I look at every transaction the same, and I know I sound like a broken record, but like, again, there was a point in time in my career that I was making more money on rentals than sales, and I was making close to $600,000 to $700,000 a year.
Oh, amazing!
And I think, I don't know what the statistics are. You might be able to know it better because of your recruiting with your brokerage, but I think like the average realtor makes like $10,000 or something a year.
Yep, that's about right.
We this year, and I just ironically have the screen in front of me, we've done 71 rentals this year. So it's 6 months in. So I don't even know what that is off the cuff, a month on average, which is over $220,000 in GCI in just rentals. So like,
Yeah.
you know, look, is it a lot of work? Absolutely. But if you're someone that's just getting into it and you want to make, you know, six figures in the business, like you can do it with rentals.
And these are the people that if you treat them well after they move into the apartment, whether they ever move, you know, in the next 12 months or not, or whether the building doesn't pay a commission if they renew on year 2 to you, they're going to probably buy a home at some point. Most people do, right? And so
or their friends will.
What's that?
Or their friends will.
Yes.
Or family members, or boss, employees. That's the key.
When I bought my first place, I was one of the last of my friends. I was 30 years old when I was able to buy my first place. And truth be told, I probably could have done it sooner, but I didn't know how mortgages worked. I really was completely ignorant I was a marketing guy. I just didn't really know much about the financial world. And I was too embarrassed to really ask, you know, anyone for like, how do you do this? And even the internet, when I bought my first place was, I think, 2005. I mean, yes, internet was obviously around, but I still wasn't really going to Google to learn or YouTube to learn a lot at that time. So I just didn't know much. And thankfully, I knew a realtor, and he ended up, now I work for him, and he became my realtor because he was my friend, which is how it works. And this is no shade to he's my business partner now, no shade to him, but had he have asked me, you know, you're renting right now, we should talk about maybe, I think you might be able to buy, or you might not even know that you can buy. Let's talk about it. And he never had that conversation with me. He's just not, he never wanted to ask for business. But that's a huge opportunity for people working with renters, is to say, hey, let's help you figure out, first of all, is that a goal of yours? If it is, let me help chart the path for you. And you become that education source, because as a renter, I didn't have an agent, right? I was just finding my own apartments. A lot of people just do. So this is such an amazing opportunity to start that relationship at that time. And then you're hopefully the agent they use when they're ready to, you know, transition. So I want to talk about some bad advice that you got. And I love this, which was called stay in your lane. We hear this a lot. Now, raking nationals and rentals while running a luxury team is pretty much the definition of not staying in your lane, right? Selling $55 million properties and doing rentals is, you know, those seem at odds. But where did that advice actually cost you, and where was the person who gave it to you correct? Like, I understand that you're doing this, but give us the context for the stay in your lane bad advice.
The context was, I had an opportunity for a big listing in Florida, And I called another agent who to help me co-list it. That agent, the agent who said it to me actually um, had also been called from the same family office because they were from the town. And they basically ended up listing it together without me when we were supposed to work on it together, all
Ugh.
three of us. Um, and we had a conversation, and basically it was like a sly comment like, oh, you should have stayed in your lane. I've sold on the block, you haven't. I brought in this guy also just to help us. Like, you were never going to be considered.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So advice wise, I think I didn't listen to it. So I think it was actually probably the best advice,
Yeah.
because for me, he has no business to tell me what's my lane or what's not. And that's kind of how I've always looked at life and in my business. And, you are your best, you are the keeper of everything you do. Manifestation's real. You can really do anything within reason, uh, and be able to do it. I tell people that all the time on my team. So for me, I think it was probably the best advice and probably the best thing to say, because it just made me want to work harder.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a motivation for a lot of people when they are told, oh, that deal doesn't sound like you, or that deal isn't you. That's not your niche. And if it's truly not your niche, you should probably refer it. And if it's a niche you want, like you were saying, manifestation, then you need to build up your skill set immediately so you can, but people do it. And let's talk about when you tell a buyer sometimes even not to buy. So since the milestone inspections and the reserve studies have come due, buyers down there in your area of the market are inheriting special assessments, right? This is a big thing in your area right now that run anywhere from $10,000 to over $100,000 a unit. So what are you doing on condos now that maybe you weren't doing in the past? Just curious how that's changed.
So I get a lot of the information beforehand, and because I'm knowledgeable in the market, I know a lot of the buildings that are already having their maybe are flagged and have issues. And obviously, you hear about things as you progress in transactions. But for me, I mean, my transaction coordinator, as soon as we get to an offer, is already likely, especially on the listing side, we already have all the condo docs. We know what the struggles are. So for us, I will tell people not to buy in certain buildings, but I also give them the flexibility to understand, like, I say this all the time, everyone's risk tolerance is different. Your risk tolerance versus what my risk tolerance versus what your buyer's risk tolerance is different. At the end of the day, you have to just provide the buyer or the seller with enough knowledge to be able to have their own risk tolerance. Because for me, I can't tell someone I don't think they should buy in a building because they're going through structural reserves and all that stuff, where my buyer may think of it as actually a good way to negotiate and get something for below market and deal with the struggles. Yeah, okay, maybe he's not, if they're buying it as an investment, they're not going to have, a renter at the highest price point. But guess what? When the building's done, the building's going to be in the best position possible. So the building may be going through an assessment for the lobby or the amenities space or whatever it is. And if they deal with it for, 2 years and take on that burden, they may actually be in the long run much better. So it just really depends. But there are definitely buildings that I will flag for a buyer and be like, look, I had tried to sell something probably 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and the assessment was so large that the people were completely upside down. The unit was like $800,000, and I think it was like $350,000 or $400,000 assessment. And then on top of that, they had debt on it, so it was like they would have to strike a check for like $100,000 to get out. And I told them, I said, look, I understand, in your time of your life that you want to move and move on, but like, unless you're writing a check, like, this is not the listing I can take, because it's physically not possible unless you're striking a check or the client's writing a check for $100,000 at the end on top of their purchase price to do it. It's just not real.
Yeah. What I'm hearing a lot of, and I really encourage our audience to take note, is Chris and I'm speaking for you. Please correct me if I get this wrong. You see yourself more as an advisor than a transaction, person. You have told people don't buy, rent instead, or you and again, you're going to let them make the decision, obviously, but you will give them your guidance. And let's talk about that when you've told somebody, hey, you're better off renting right now than buying.
Yeah, no, I mean, it happens all the time. I have this conversation on a weekly basis. And again, it kind of goes back to something I said earlier, that if you do your job well, the money will become a byproduct of your success. And so, like, I think a lot of people, especially when they're newer in the business and they don't have the pipeline, they get really caught up in, okay, I need this money. When they're negotiating and something comes up as an inspection or a repeat client, they're not willing to give $500 of their commission or to fix a light bulb, and they're willing to walk away from the $30,000 commission over $500. The way I've always looked at it is nothing in this business is given, it's earned. So, like, you don't have a salary. So, like, back to when I was doing the rentals, even, I just looked at it as, like, okay, if I put enough breadcrumbs together, I'll have a bakery. I don't need a loaf of bread. If you put enough little pieces on the board, it'll eventually, become a bigger piece, and you'll be fine. So, people get caught up that they put their own selfish feelings of monetary, circumstances, and don't advise them properly. Because, yeah, it definitely sucks. You can be with a buyer for 3-4 months, showing them every weekend for something, and maybe that commission will make you 30, 60, 20, whatever the amount of money is, and then you realize there's truly nothing in the market. Their kids have to be in school, they have to enroll at a certain time, and instead of them buying something that they're not going to be happy with, and ultimately want to either sell and maybe they're not going to make money, or whatever the circumstances are going to be, it's better for you to say, hey, let's get you into a rental. In Florida, you can cancel the lease with 2 months penalty. Let's figure out what works. And you can always just factor the 2-month cancellation and give you guys a little bit of runway, or extend your lease for another 3 months. Like, be the advisor. People, especially in the luxury sector, smell, excuse my language, bullshit. People don't get to that level without it. And if you're not honest and truthful and advise, like, they're gonna smell it, and you're not going to be able to speak to that billionaire, because they're going to feel that you're, non-genuine.
Yeah. And that's the death knell when you're non-genuine, that people can sniff that, they know it, or at least they feel it. Maybe they don't know it, but they feel it inside, and they move on. I want to talk about building the team, because a lot of our listeners are solo practitioners, and maybe they don't have the dream to have a huge team. Maybe they just want to bring on one additional person. And let's talk about how because teams don't immediately scale. They start small and then they start to grow. So when was it that you knew that you wanted to have a team, and what was that first hire like?
So my first hire was an agent who's actually gone back to New York now post-COVID, but it wasn't really my choice, if that makes sense. Like, I was doing business with this agent. I was a solo agent. My mom and my brother had just moved down, but they were kind of doing business, kind of not. And, I had just hired my first assistant, and I was very apprehensive actually about having a team. I was like, I want to do it my way. Like, I don't like, I've worked so hard. Like, I don't want to, like, I also didn't want to have, like, the kind of, like, stigma of having your own team of, like, the Wands team. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, well, why can't you just call it, like, the real estate team or something like that? Like, it doesn't need to just be me. And this agent really pushed me to start my team, and he was my first hire. His name's Marco. He's works in New York City, and he actually left Douglas Elliman and went to a competing firm and went to a bigger team. And he called me and was like, I don't like this. Like, can you just please start a team? Like, I've only been on teams. Like, I want to be on a team. Like, can you just, like, suck it up and do it? And I was, at the time, I needed more help. And I just kind of was like, sure. And then, inadvertently, because I had 3 people, 4 people. I had someone else that wanted to do it, was asking me, and I jumped to a medium team right away. And the rest was kind of history.
You've also talked about not scaling or growing until infrastructure is in place. Tell us what that means.
So I'm kind of going through this actual process now. I've been a medium team pretty much for the entire time I've had a team. So since I guess it was 2021, 2020, I can't even remember at this point. So figure, 5, 6 years at this point now. And I've been very apprehensive again of going to a large team. I'm like, I don't want to manage people. I'm already managing too many people. I've got an admin staff. I've got this, I got that. And the infrastructure wise, I had a coach for a decent amount of time, was to have the back end so the business can flow, so that when I do jump, it's here's the system, here's what our framework looks like. If the framework doesn't work for you, that isn't the right team for you. And now, next year we're going to jump to a large team, and I'll probably hire another 5 agents. And it's because I have the infrastructure, I have the admin staff, I have the marketing director, I have everything that I need to get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk about AI as well. Has AI been helpful to get your systems more organized?
I think AI for me, the biggest thing is I can't spell for shit. So it's helped me format my emails. But I mean, yeah, I think AI has definitely helped us to stay more organized. I use a new CRM system called Close. I used to use Follow Up Boss.
I love Close.
Yeah, I used Follow Up Boss, and I think I can't even tell you how much money I flushed down the drain, because I was like, if you look at my list, like right here, like I'm pen and paper guy. I mean, I guess you can't really see it, but like I was like literally just like not the best with CRM. And now that I have Close, it's like, it's a game changer. It does what I wish Follow Up Boss would have done for me.
What I love about Close, and again, this is too inside baseball, but if anyone wants the fastest way to update a record, I have never seen a CRM as quick as Close. Like, you don't have to wait for things to load. It's all instant. It's all in your browser. It's like you click on a field, you type in whatever, you add an activity. Do you know what I mean? Like, all the other CRMs I tried, you'd have to wait for something to reload. And there's like a couple second delay there. And I don't know how Close bridged that gap, but they figured that out, and it's just instant. And anyway, whatever. That's just
their interface is also great. So anyone that wants to level up their business, this is not a plug. I'm not being paid anything. If Close wants to give me I mean, I guess it's through Douglas Elliman.
Me too.
But if they want to give me something, you can do it. But it absolutely is a game changer. Even the fact, I'm one of those people that is going to put the contact in my phone, and then it'll sit there, and then someone else is going to put it into an Excel file and then put it into my CRM for me, or it's not going to get done. Close totally, literally, I can upload my entire contact base and you're in the CRM, which was brilliant. And I don't know why other people didn't do that.
Well, one thing I'll tell you, if you want to take your Close game to the next level, connect it to its API, connect like your AI to its API on the back end, and have it go in and evaluate how your team's working leads, if they are all using Close, if it's just you, how you're working, missed opportunities. Like, that is really, really cool stuff. So it's all free. Anyway, okay, we'll stop talking about Close, because this is not a paid advertisement for Close. Although if they ever listen, I would love to have you as a sponsor, or Follow Up Boss. By the way, Follow Up Boss is really, in the real estate world, really is kind of one of the crown jewels of the CRM. But there are other products now that are non-real estate specific, like Close, that are just agnostic. You could use it for anything. And I'm a huge fan as well. Okay. A few more questions for you. So when someone new joins, so teams are everything right now. I think there's a flight to teams. Either you want to build a team or you want to join a team. So I would like you to help give some advice to an agent who's listening, who is thinking of joining a successful team, and what should they be looking for in a team leader? How do what do you sort of suggest, or questions maybe to ask or what to look for?
I think the first thing you should do is look through people's social media and see what their style is. A lot of
Mm,
times people's style can be shown through the way they are. There's a few people in our market that are very, very analytical. And like, I'm very analytical, but I think that sometimes the market speaks differently than analytics. Analytics aren't everything. So like me, that if you're super analytical and you only want to be analytical, then like I'm probably not the guy. There's people that I know that don't work in all subsects of the market. So if you want to be able to be in the middle market, and the team lead and the team is only doing $20 million plus, as amazing that is, then maybe that's not the team you should be on. I also think that, hold on a second, sorry. There you go. The other thing I think you should think about is, what do you want to get from the team and what you want to get? I can't tell you how many times people come to me and are like, what can you give me? And the question is like, oh, well, I can give you a lot of things, but at the same time, like, what can you do for me? Like,
yeah,
you're
what do
the
you
one
have to
coming
offer?
to me. What do you have to offer? And I find that even myself, when I was younger of an agent, I made that mistake. And
Sure.
yes, there's always a financial aspect of wanting to be on a team and getting, leads and stuff like that. And there should be, if someone is on your team and leveraging your brand, there should be something to the person that's joining the team. But what does that mean? Like, person on my team is going to be able to get my marketing. They're going to get me if they want me to come to a pitch. Like, everyone needs to evaluate of what is for them. If you want someone who's going to give, want someone that's only going to give leads and that's the only thing you care about, then like, that's probably not me. A lot of my stuff is, earned, not given. Like, I think that's what I would say is like, you should figure out what do you want out of the team and then backtrack from there.
I'm always amazed when agents who are newer, it's a Saturday or a Sunday. Okay, maybe they don't have a big sphere of influence. Maybe they're new to the market they're in. They just moved there, and they're not begging agents to host open houses. It's crazy to me. And not everyone likes doing open houses. I get it. Not everyone's good at doing open houses. I also get that, but it's a skill. You can develop it. But people definitely go to open houses who are wanting to buy properties. And yeah, they're probably not going to buy that property that they walked into, but obviously that's an amazing opportunity to potentially get them as a client. How important are open houses to your business?
I fight with my own team about this. If I didn't have business, I'd be sitting at every open house possible, even if I knew no one would show up. It gives you so many different points of contact. And with this thing right here, which is, run like 50 times since I've been here, like, you can make yourself look busy. Take the listing and show it on your Instagram and be like, oh, showing, and put the price point, or open house. I can't tell you enough how annoyed I get. And then especially with people on my team, any team, where like, okay, I want to do business for you or work with you. Okay. Like, you want to do an open house on one of my listings, as long as the owner allows it, you can do it any day of the week. If you want to sit there 7 days a week and the owner is okay with it, I'm okay with it. I can't be there 7 days a week, but if you want to sit there and you want to dedicate yourself to that, I'll be happy to do that. And guess what? If the property sells, I'll be happy to pay you a percentage.
And you get to keep the leads.
And you get to keep the leads.
Now, how often do people ask you for that?
Not enough, even on my own team. This weekend, I needed to fill an open house.
I want to be really clear. We're not picking on Chris's team. Chris has an awesome team. I look, one of the top teams here in Chicago, Ben Lala's, he's a Compass guy. He's one of my closest friends. And so we have all these listeners, and we have a segment on our show, not this episode, but we have a segment where we bring on a coach, and we say to our listeners, we're going to give you a free coaching session that you do not have to pay for. And this coach is legit. He's the real deal, but you have to come on our show. You have to be vulnerable. You have to tell wherever part of your business isn't going well, you got to talk about it. my brain was like, oh, we're going to have people lined up out the door to want to do this. And it has been so hard for us to get people to raise their hand. I'm like, this is like maybe $1,000 free value, maybe $500. I don't know. It's certainly not a free thing that we're giving away. And it goes back to you saying not enough of people are asking you for, hey, can I please do this open house for you? And again, we're not picking on you. My buddy Ben, who runs one of the biggest Compass teams here, he's like, DJ, my team doesn't even want to be coached by me, and I know what to do. He's like, so
no, look, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And listen, my team is amazing. They wouldn't be on my team if they weren't amazing. But it's always like everyone can do better. I can do better. And like, I had a coach for a long period of time. I ended up parting ways with him because it also got to the point where like you sometimes need to listen to your own inner thoughts, and you can build on stuff. But it's like every week you can't be like, something new. Like, let's work on the 3 things we did before and then see how that worked.
Right.
And but still, I don't get it. And when I started, you were talking about how did you get the trust? I sat in open houses. I went to listings. I can't tell you how many times people like, and I don't know how it is in your market, but on like Tuesdays and Wednesdays, depending on where you are in Miami, is the days for brokers open. Like, go and introduce yourself to people. If you know that you're a Douglas Elliman agent or a Compass agent, Keller Williams, Kell Realty, whatever it is, and you're just starting, pull a list. You should be able to use the MLS at this point. If you can't, go do a training and you can learn how to do that. And that should be on the top of your list. Pull a list, see what the open houses are, and say, okay, I'm at Douglas Elliman. There's 15 agents from Douglas Elliman that are doing it. I don't know these people, but 4 of those people are the top agents. Let me go and introduce myself. I can assure you that if you ask them and say, hey, do you mind if I put this on my social media? I'll give you a tag and a call out. Do you mind if I do that and shoot a video when they get there? 9 times out of 10, they're not going to say no.
Right. They're going to be flattered that you asked them to do that. And you are networking with a good agent who, when they see your name come across on a deal, they're gonna be like, I know that guy, or I know that woman, and I like them. And yeah, it is crazy. I could not agree with you more. I just want to get back to really a really simple thing that you told us before we started the episode was when you first started, you were first guy in the office, last guy to leave. Now there's sacrifices that come with that. All these years later, I don't know if you're still first in, last out. I don't know if you need to be. And I hope you have great balance. It sounds like you do. And was it worth it to do first in, last out? I think I know the answer, but I would love to hear you as reflecting, because you did have to give up some stuff to do that. That's their sacrifices. Were those sacrifices worth it?
It's a double-edged sword. Yes, some of them were, some of them were not. And I think with any entrepreneur in any business, I think they would probably say the exact same thing. There was a lot of times that I thought what I was doing or the people I was focusing on was what was going to take me to the next level, and they weren't. So the times that I wasted when I'm a young father, I have a almost 3-year-old, I have a wife, there's times where I'm like, why did I go and show this guy who has been wasting my time for, 2 years? And you have to know when to also give yourself a break. I definitely was very lucky that my wife is also an entrepreneur. So if it's, on vacation, if it's not me on the phone, it's her on the phone. So it's helped us. But with the same token, there are times that answering at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, unless it's like a expiration type thing, where you're dealing with an inspection period or something's going to expire and you're going to lose a deal. We've all had that. I had this probably 4 weeks ago. The deal can wait till the next morning. And, and if it can't, then okay, maybe it probably wouldn't have gone through anyway. And you have to be able to have work-life balance. I think there was a time period in my life that it was pretty unhealthy, my work-life balance, but I now have a pretty much a non-negotiable that I take at least one day off. And okay, if I have to work all weekend and that means that my light day is going to be a Monday and, I still answer phone calls and stuff, but that means that, okay, then, I'm going to take a nicer day on a Monday.
Right.
If it's a Tuesday, that like you can't burn out. And there's been times in my career that I'm like, shit, I don't know if I want to do this
Yeah.
because I'm burnt out.
Yeah. You're on one end of this, of this sort of ledger though, which is I work too much. So I need to pare back to provide for other parts of my life. Many of us are on the other side where it's like, we need to ramp up the number of hours if we're being honest, right? If we really want to make a go of this, it's a better problem to solve, although it is still a problem to work too much versus too little. But you should probably be the first person to get in, or at least strive to be one of the first people to get in and one of the last to leave. And then maybe you work from home and there's whatever version of that. But there is something to be said for just doing more hard work. I mean, you've said it all along, and it's just get your reps in, go, do whatever is needed over and over and over again. And there's no magic formula. And that's what I keep coming back to from your success.
Yeah, there's no magic formula. For me, it's always just been hard work and outworking other people.
Isn't it fun? It's so funny. When I started this podcast, I didn't know. I sort of assumed that people would say a version of that, but I thought that it would be more eloquent, or it would be more interesting, or there'd be like a little secret something or other. I've done 800 of these. No, it's always that. Sometimes people do have really specific things that are kind of like new and whatever, but it's all fundamentals. It always goes back to fundamentals. It's just like, do the thing. It's like, going to the gym. It's like, do the push-up, do the squat, do the really basic stuff that we know you have to do if you want to build muscle. There's always a new exercise piece of equipment. And you still got to probably do like the push-ups, that don't require any equipment and are really not fun to do, but you got to probably do them. So pick up the phone.
Fruit.
Yeah. Call your sphere, ask them how they're doing. I want to just ask one last question. How do you stay in contact with people after a sale? So for those of you listening, Chris quietly picked up his phone and showed it to the camera, which probably wouldn't have translated. So I'm giving you a caption there.
Honestly, social media too. Look, I'm not a commercial broker. I'm a residential broker. I've always been very adamant that real estate's a lifestyle. So, show it especially my social media, show if you're on vacation, show if you're with your family, show everything, because it's a lifestyle. So for me, a lot of times people follow me on social media. So you see someone and you say, hey, maybe they just announced that they're pregnant, and you see that they're pregnant with a little boy. Okay, you sold them the house, right? You know their address. They're still living there. It takes you 10 minutes to go on Amazon, pick out a little gift and send it to them. Yeah. It's a touch point. It's something as simple as putting birthdays. Clothes, perfect example. You have all your birthdays in there. You can have the automated setup email. Hey, thinking about you. Happy birthday. Hope all is well. Like, you'd be surprised how like simple text messages and things of, perfect example, an agent from Douglas Elliman who I'm friends with, she knows I like wine. She sent me a bottle of wine, and she's from San Diego. And now when I have another referral, I'm going to think about her the next time. Simple. It's not complicated. It's simple.
Yeah. You pick up the phone and you reach out and you wish people happy birthdays, and you say, hey, I just saw you posted, you were on some trip. Tell me about it. It sounds awesome. You give a shit is basically the bottom line. And
or you see someone's in a place you've been, be like, hey, I was there. Like, I can't tell you how many times I was just talking to a client. They like asked for like Milan recommendations. It's like, hey, I was in Milan in the summer. Like, you should go to this, and this restaurant. And like, I'm a big Google Maps guy. So I have I create lists. So like, I have something like, Miami from a local. So like, someone's like, hey, Chris, what are your recommendations? I flip them the list.
Yeah.
And I do it for Milan. I've done it for France. I've done it for so I have these lists. So like, be like, hey, for whatever it's worth, here's my list. This has been a culmination of like food bloggers, whatever it is, my experiences, and like I'll tag it on there and then give them to people, and like it's another touch point.
Yeah. So you look at social media sometimes as research and development, right? It's finding out what my sphere, my clients are up to. You're following them. You're doing work to, here's what's going on in their lives, and I'm going to interact with that information. And you don't have to talk about real estate necessarily. You just have to be part of their life. And I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Chris, this has been an amazing conversation. You've really, I love the fact that you do super high-end luxury deals to modest deals as well. And everything is treated the same. Your team is doing a ton of rentals because why not? And they are, staying busy, and you are continuing to grow your team, and it's really incredible. So I love the fact that you are open and willing and just honest about, hey, it's just about doing the work, and anyone can really do this if you are committed enough. I have some homework for our audience, and I am going to give you that homework here right now. So here's what I want you to do before the next episode. So open your database, pull every rental and every small deal you've closed in the last, 3 to 5 years. Pick 5 of those people and call them this week. Ask one question. Are you still renting? That's it. Are you still renting? And, hey, do you want to buy in the future? Is that a goal of yours? There's the conversation. So do that. It costs you nothing. It will reconnect you with those people.
Ask them if their rental is up.
There you go. Do you want to move? Whether you want to buy or not, do you want to just move?
I'll give a little secret sauce, okay? 60 days before every lease renewal in my phone, I have a notification after I do the deal, and I do it right away because I get the lease, and I save, and I say, reach out to blah, blah, blah. Because not just that, if they are looking to buy, they're probably looking 60 days or more before their lease is up.
100%. I am shocked that rental agents don't do that. Hey, we're getting to the end of the lease. Let's talk. Are you happy there? You want to stick around? You think of moving to another neighborhood? Let's chat. I mean, simple and easy. And maybe even a call 30 days in when they first move in. How's the apartment going? How's the condo? Whatever. How is it working for you? Are you still happy there? It's not, like you said, it's not heart surgery, but it does take effort. And I appreciate, on behalf of our audience, Chris, for coming on our show and telling us all the stuff we already know, but he applies every single day to his business. And he's one of the top Elliman teams, in the country, because of the hard work and discipline and doing those fundamental exercises over and over and over again. So on behalf of the audience, thank you, Chris. On behalf of Chris and myself, we thank you, the audience, because you are the reason we do this show. Please, the best way that you can help us is by telling a friend. Think of one other agent that could benefit from this episode. And I think fundamentally, this episode is a great one to send out, because Chris started from humble beginnings, and he's still doing humble, modest deals along with some of the biggest deals in this potential market. So I love that he just does it all. And shoot that over to an agent in your office who could benefit from hearing from Chris. And by the way, if you are working with people who either retire down to Miami, the Miami area, or maybe buy, winter properties there, or our luxury clients who have homes all over the place, Chris would love to interact with you and to build a relationship. So reach out to Chris. His Instagram is Chris_Wands, and we're going to have all of his socials on the description of this episode, so you can find him. He's easy to find. Just Google him, by the way. He's super easy. Chris, on behalf of everyone, thank you so much. We thank our sponsors as well. We will see everybody on the next episode. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, DJ.